Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit, and specifically the first chapter, or first section, which is known as Sense Certainty. So, what is the goal of Hegel's Phenomenology of Spirit in general? Well, Hegel's taking us through each shape of consciousness, of being aware of the world, of being aware that, that I exist and that other things exist, and coming to realize that that exactly what I just said is not able to be held up. To say that I'm over here and that thing is over there, it doesn't hold up. And this is what is revealed towards the end. But for our purposes, what is sense certainty? Well, sense certainty follows each stage of consciousness in the phenomenology. Every time we go through a new stage of consciousness, we always think, oh, this is the end. We declare something as absolute, and we go, that's the end, that's the truth, that's the end. Hegel's whole point is, no. Each of these stages negates itself to form the other from it, and it cannot be thought as this object is over here and I am over here. Now, we're going to begin with sense certainty, as said. So it's sort of split into like three sections, three like mini parts or whatever. The first one is discussing what if we take pure presence of the now and the here. So the now would be like right now, right? That's the now. Thinking time as not a process, but as a static, pure presence, right? So what Hegel's doing in this is he's responding to what's known as a nominalist point of view, where words don't really express anything, right? There's only particulars and there are no universals, and that words simply express particulars. When I say dog, I'm not speaking of some universal of dog. I'm simply saying dog. I'm referencing the here and now, the dog that is there, the dog that I've remembered in my mind, right? Hegel's point is that we can't do this. We cannot say that there is just the now. There is a now of nows, which is what our now is. So again, we'll start and we'll go sort of step by step. So if it's nighttime and I go, right now is nighttime, okay, cool, that's fine. But then the next day I go, right now is daytime. Well, are we dealing with two separate eyes? Are we dealing with two separate nows? Are we dealing with a now that was, has been, and a now that is? Or are we speaking of the same now as abiding through the movement of time? So Hegel's point is that yes, the now is abiding, and this now is the ultimate universal. It's sort of like, again, to say in both senses we are correct when we say that now is daytime, now is nighttime. If there was a multiple nows, then that would just be confusing. We don't speak like that, right? We don't think like that. We don't think that there's multiple nows. We think that there's one now, and that this now is abiding. And this is the first universal. The next point Hegel says is he's like the same thing with here. If I say here, I am here, well, I am no longer there, right? That's sort of the point, is that when I utter here, when I utter now, it is already past me. Now, this brings us into the second section, where when I utter here, when I utter now, this is already past me. And Hegel says that we can't say that the subject is absolute. The subject is the nowifier, or the one who makes what is here. To do this would similarly to posit this sort of infinite multiplicity of eyes. Each here is experienced by a new eye, and that doesn't seem right, correct. So right, that doesn't seem there doesn't seem to be an unlimited multiplicity of eye. There just seems to be an abiding eye, at least to Hegel. So this moves us into the third part. Instead of recognizing that the now is ever shifting, or the now is I am the nowifier, the now becomes in itself and for itself, meaning that the now is realized to be an abiding moment, but that the now references what has been. Then this is where we get into the dialectic of the now, which is a little bit confusing, but I can try and explain it. So when we say something has been, It no longer is the now. But for it no longer to be the now, and no longer can be the truth of the now, because truth is a sense of presentness, right? Truth is presentness, truth is being. Due to this, we must posit another now. But this itself, when posited, becomes self-negated, self-sublated, whatever you want to say. And then we return back to where we began and say that there is only the now of nows. That each now is itself the universal of now. That it isn't taking part in a form of now. There is not like a Platonic form of now. But that each now is self-abiding. Each now is the universal of now, realized for itself and in itself. Meaning that it is present to our consciousness and it is abiding in itself. So yeah, that is the dialectic of sense certainty. We have disposed of the idea of thisness, of here-ness, of nowness, the simple just abstractness of, here, now, this. We've moved into the sense of universals. We've recognized that universals exist, and now we can begin to figure out what are universals? What do they abide by? Is there a difference in the universal itself? All these questions will come up in the perception section of Phenomenology of Spirit. So yeah, that's going to be it for the video. Simple sort of introduction to the first part of Phenomenology of Spirit, the uncertainty section, which is, it's a great section just to get yourself so familiar with Hegel and the way that his dialectic works. So yeah. Anyways, y'all have a great day and subscribe down below, like the video.